Okay. On a very timely basis. This is the Town of Woodbridge regular monthly Board of Finance meeting for October 16th, 2014. And the first item on the agenda is public comments, and seeing no one, I will move on to item 2, which is Administrative Officer, Director of Finance report. Tony?
Thank you, Matt. We have the reports for the first quarter of our year, and the fund balance stands at about $4.2 million, or 9.2% of our budget for this year. And I don't really have any projected surplus or deficit at the moment. It's a little early in the year for that, but I did have some items I want to bring to your attention. The first is waste management. We have a slight deficit in tipping fees, about $16,000, but we have a surplus in bulky waste of a little under $17,000. So I think it's a wash there. I just wanted to bring that to your attention. Secondly, employee benefits. We have a shortfall in $36,000 in workers' compensation, primarily because our bids came in higher than anticipated. As an update to that, the risk pool MIRMA, if you remember, we were in a risk pool that we had to resolve, has actually sold their book of business and is now officially out of business.
Really?
Right. So as a result of that transaction, we received, what they do is they sold their book of business after an evaluation of where their claims were, and they settled all their outstanding liabilities. We received a little under $30,000 back from that operation. So that actually goes to offset that deficit in their workers' compensation. And so we're actually doing pretty good shape now as a result of that. And there is a deficit of $25,000 from a heart and hypertension claim, which we settled. We do have a surplus in retiree health care, however, of a little under $70,000. So we're doing pretty good there. It's just there was some surpluses in some accounts and some deficits in others.
Okay.
Okay.
Any questions? All right. Audit status, Tony?
They're completed 2 weeks, and they have one more week. And there have been no findings to report. Everything's going very smoothly. They're through all of their testing. There's some additional testing this year that they haven't done in the past. Some new procedures in terms of pulling expenditures from the current year, and testing additional expenditures and revenues that they hadn't done in previous years. But that all went well. Basically, what I have left to do with is to finish the capital assets, which is something that usually takes me the longest, and it's towards the end of the process. So I have to finish the capital asset part of the audit, and then we should be complete.
Okay. And Woodbridge Board of Ed, as an FYI, Sandy is not with us tonight, but it looks like it's about a $37,000 surplus through September 30th, so that's a good thing. Okay. And fiscal year 16 budget memo, some guidelines.
So yeah, we issue guidelines for the departments in general. As we've discussed in the past, the departments are good about presenting their what they need, their wants versus their needs, their needs versus their wants rather. And so each year we try to illustrate that we have to try to balance the needs of the town while keeping our costs and taxes under control. So this is just sort of a guideline for the departments in case anyone had anything else. Occasionally, some years we may add something, but just more of an FYI if you wanted to add any additional at this point. But more of an FYI for you.
Okay. Anything else? No. Okay, funding requests. We have 2. The first is a line item transfer within Government Access TV. It's basically to transfer grant funds to the budget, which is kind of an automatic thing. So I'll move acceptance of line item transfer 1415-04 in the amount of $7,730.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And next is a contingency request for a book, I guess. Hey, it was here.
Good evening, everybody.
Updated printing of historic Woodbridge and historic and architectural resource survey. And it's for about, I guess, not to exceed $25,000. So we can find out what this is all about. I'll move acceptance of request for funding 1415-05 in the amount not to exceed $25,000. Tony or whoever, could you enlighten us on this?
I can give you a little description of the project is involved. There is a committee, which there's an attached memo for your reference. There's been a committee that has formed to essentially recreate the historic Woodbridge book. I should have brought my copy with me, but I don't know if you are familiar with that book. It's basically historic homes and the history behind them. And there's a committee that is met to try to recreate that book and to update it essentially. And there's been a lot of work done so far. There's the existing, all the information gathering and the work done so far has been done with a grant that was for a state grant fund, so that's was not something that cost the town anything. But the transfer you have in front of you is to print it. So they haven't been printed yet, they're not complete yet actually. And it's to print the book for sale. And the suggested price is $45 each, so that's essentially what the transfer is for, is the printing of the book.
Do you have any idea where these will be sold, or?
They'll be sold out of the town clerk's office by the town, and then the funding will go back to the town. So they're it's sold at $45 each. The estimate is that 250 will sell pretty quickly, and that the town would get that back, and then the remainder, as they're sold, the funds would come back to the town. I would suggest that the funds would go back to contingency if in fact you decided to move forward with this.
No, it's just a fairly significant hit to contingency for something that's not really, I don't know, I just don't consider it necessarily be a contingency type item. So they're going to print 1,000 copies?
Right. In the printing.
This is a bound book. This is a
Correct. It's a bound book.
It's a bound book.
Correct. Yeah. That's correct.
Unless the last time they did this was how many years ago?
Oh, boy. It's before I was here.
In the 90s.
Yeah, 94.
So it's going to be color. It's going to be a full color bound quality book.
And my impression is it's a very, very popular book, and the update is using the old photographs when they have them of the homes, and then a new photograph as well. And they've really enhanced the book quite a bit from what it was before. I wanted to clarify also, in case you wondered why it was 20,000 modified to 25,000 at the Board of Selectmen. The request was for $20,000, and that seems to be really what's needed. By the time the Board of Selectmen was considering this, the Stephanie Trolleglio and others who explained it weren't there. And the total cost is a little bit more than the $20.
Right.
But Stephanie had money in her budget to cover that. That just wasn't clear to us, and we wanted to make sure they had enough for the printing. But I've since checked with her, and the $20,000 would cover it.
It should definitely cover it, yeah.
I mean, of course, we don't know. They are optimistic about pretty quick sales. They were hoping to have them before the holidays, but that's looking less likely.
Probably, right, probably not till after.
The only thing I'm a little lost on is this. We're suggesting that the books be sold for $45 each, and our estimate is that we will sell 250. That will bring in $11,250. And we expect the remaining 7,100. I don't know what that figure means. Where'd 7,100 come from?
tell you in a second.
That's
That's three
19,350.
quarters of it.
That's the actual price for the printing.
Oh,
So
There may be some set costs for typesetting and some other editorial costs, but the actual printing cost was, I believe that's where that number comes from.
well, like I said,
Yeah, 18,350, that's the actual cost to actually print it.
my only concern is that, contingency is something we use for emergencies and for town town expenditures that come out unexpectedly. If it was 2,500, I wouldn't have a problem. 25,000 though seems like a significant hit. It's probably, what's our contingency, like
200,000.
Yeah, so it's more than 10% of our contingency, so, I don't know, anybody else, any feelings? I'm a little concerned that they went ahead with this. Obviously, they've done this, anticipating this kind of money from us. Maybe they should have come to us first.
Through the budget process.
They came up after the budget process.
Yeah.
I think that's what happened.
I'm just thinking that before they went as far as they did, they maybe should have come
Did they
to
go,
us.
did they go through the board of selectmen? The board?
Yes,
And the board approved it?
yeah,
Approved doing the book.
the book, yeah.
They approved
The board approved doing the book.
Yeah.
Yes.
Matthew, I agree with you, okay? On the other hand, I bought the first book,
Oh, did you?
and I think
Will you buy the second?
I'd buy this book.
Copies,
I mean,
only.
I've lived here for 50 years, and I guess, I bought the first one, I'll buy the second book. I think she's correct. I think they will sell enough books that we'll probably get our money back, so I don't know if that's gonna be an issue.
Yeah.
I mean, I probably, the funding process maybe could have been a little different, but,
Again, well, it's gonna go back into contingency, I would just,
yeah.
I'd hope we get a chunk of this money back within this year, because we might need it. Again, if it was 2,500, let's go. 25,000 is a significant amount of money when you're about 200,000 to start with. So,
No. Do they need 25,000 or do they need 20,000?
20.
I'd say 20 would be fine.
So if they need 20, then why don't we just make it for 20,000 and not 25,000?
Is this 18,350 plus you're
Oh.
saying some setting
Maybe
cost
some, right, maybe
additional
some-
than
some-
the
right,
18,000?
but they have some, the money they got, they used already to, create this or?
Correct.
To work on it.
To do the,
So when did this 25, well, obviously you guys just, you met a week ago, when did this 25,000, who suggested they go to 25,000?
There's
I
some-
believe it was a
one of the board
motion
members.
on the Board of Selectmen.
Board of Selectmen?
yeah,
What
but
is
there was some
that?
confusion over exactly how much it would cost, and you have since clarified that.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, if they can print fewer books, I mean,
That's true.
and they can make it match the budget.
Right.
So, I mean, if we feel comfortable with 20,000 and not
All right, so then
25,000.
we're gonna, then I need a motion.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion that we modify the Board of Selectmen request to $20,000.
I'll second the motion.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Okay. Any other discussion on the request of $20,000?
I think it is a good project for the town. I bought one 20 years ago, and
I'm not questioning that.
I think it builds community.
Yeah.
I understand your point.
Yeah.
It's a lot, it's
I
a
would
big
prefer,
hit.
as Mike said, if
Right.
this had been part of the
Right.
budget.
Right, right.
And it's,
Only because it's coming out of money that
Yeah.
we have good uses for usually.
Yeah, I agree.
It's just not a typical contingency.
it's similar to the playground situation. I
Yeah.
mean, what it is
Yeah.
that the contingency fund is not for these types of things.
Yeah.
So.
And Tony, you'll monitor this money
Of course,
coming back?
absolutely.
Obviously, I'd like to, hopefully we get some of it back within this year, so we have it for town purposes, so. Okay, anything else on this? And then all those in favor of the modified amount of 20,000 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Approval of minutes. Okay, we have before us the minutes of the monthly meeting of September 18th, 2014. I'd like to move acceptance of the minutes of September 18th, 2014 as presented.
Second.
Any discussion, correction, adjustments? No? Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained. Okay. Okay. Ellen, first selectman's report.
Thank you. Thank you. Return this to you.
No. Oh, we got that one? Okay.
Yes. First, I'd like to mention again, for those of you who don't know it, that Amity Regional High School was named a Blue Ribbon School, which is a really significant and wonderful recognition of Amity. It was one of only 48 high schools nationally and one of only 2 public high schools in Connecticut. The recognition is by the U.S. Education Secretary, Arne Duncan, and it's for overall academic excellence and providing safe, creative, and challenging learning environments. So that was a real feather in the cap of Amity and terrific news. I also want to mention that I was able to meet with the Commissioner of the Department of Transportation, along with the Mayor of New Haven, to talk about the situation at Exit 59. I don't know if you recall, the last time we had a presentation from DOT, they had a very comprehensive plan which they expected they could complete in 30 years, which seemed like not ideal. So
I'll be looking down from my club.
yeah, right. So we met with the commissioner, and it was, I think it was very helpful that we had New Haven and Woodbridge together to talk about it. There's a lot more emphasis right now on regional projects, and certainly impacts New Haven as well as Woodbridge. And it seemed that the commissioner had really spent some time thinking about this project. He told us that the tunnel needs to be repaired, and that the big project will probably be tied in with the tunnel project, which I expect will not be very immediate. But in the meantime, he does have a proposal for the area approaching exit, the entrance to the parkway just past Starbucks on the right, widening the road there, changing the lighting sequence at Pond Lily, making it a right turn only. A few other things, having 2 left turn lanes when you come off the southbound exit, having 2 left turn lanes, and a few other things that seem at least helpful in the short term. They thought it would be perhaps a 3-year project in total. Tony and I have met with Warren and Terry Gilbertson and Ray Stewart to look at the plan, and we'll be having continuing meetings with DOT to comment on it, see if they can do somewhat better, and see how fast they can do it. So hopefully that will bring good news in the not too distant future. On the Country Club of Woodbridge, I think you mentioned last time, Matt, we are optimistic right now that the financials will be positive. We'll know pretty much by next month what it looks like. And I think that's in part to the renegotiated contract terms from last year, which were a big help. And of course, the weather was great. So that's the short-term good news on Woodbridge Country Club. The ad hoc committee that's reviewing the responses to the request for proposals has been acting very conscientiously and expeditiously to look over the proposals, and I would imagine within the next month or so, we'll be making a presentation to the Board of Selectmen. This will still be an executive session for the Board of Selectmen to take over and see what they think about the proposals. Andy has been working on that committee, and it's been moving along very well. Thank you, Andy. It's a big help. The other thing is we've now launched the Woodbridge Energy Challenge. I have had many requests about information on solar, how people can learn about solar, install solar. So we had an Energy Task Force Committee. It was Lisa Connor, it still is actually, Lisa Connor, Laura Fernandez, and Dawn Coppell. And they've been meeting, made a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen, which we accepted, and we've now launched the Energy Challenge. The first informational meeting will be November 18th at 6:30 in the library. And I encourage anyone who's interested to attend, both for information about solar and also for home energy audits, which is another big part of the program. They will come, it's $99 for the audit. They do an audit of your home. They'll also do a solar assessment and make recommendations. The launch in Woodbridge was helped by a home energy audit of Rob Klee, who just moved to Woodbridge with his family, and he's the commissioner of the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection. So he said they gave him a lot of good suggestions right away. He's saving already. So that was good. I also, during the last month, we had a problem with the ball fields. And you may know that a couple of years ago, the Board of Selectmen passed a no pesticide policy for all town property, and that included the ball fields. And Adam Parson was doing a great job keeping up with the ball fields. But this year, the weather that was so good for the country club was not so good for organic care for ball fields, because some of the processes he used require rain and irrigation, which we didn't have. So under the policy, the first selectman has the authority in an emergency to allow limited pesticide use, which I did for the ball fields. And now the Board of Selectmen will be looking at information to see if we need to modify the plan. Because we're past the emergency, but we want to make sure that the fields are playable for the spring. I met with Chip Dumais to talk about the budget process. He's reached out to us and the other towns. There was some miscommunication, it seemed, this year, and he's very anxious to make sure we all work together well, and I think it will bode well for us going forward with Amity. I attended the Tavern Night at the Thomas Darling House, and for any who haven't, I highly recommend it for next year. Not only is it charming and fun, but the food was extraordinary. So mark it for next year. And I attended the annual harvest hike. The Woodbridge Park Association, in conjunction with the Beecher Road School PTO, has a harvest hike. It was delightful. The kids loved it. It was at Alice Newton Street Park, and was a lot of fun for everyone. And that's about it.
But you don't mention you were at Grimaldi's Pizza.
Oh,
You don't want to tell us about that, right?
I'll tell you about Grimaldi's. You know why? Because I try to do the same report here that I do to the Board of Selectmen, and that was in between. So Grimaldi's Pizza had its opening. I thought the pizza was delicious. Apparently it's a little different from what some people are used to. You might have to adjust your taste, but I highly recommend it.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. Okay, liaison reports. Amity has not met. We're meeting, because of Columbus Day, we're meeting this coming Monday. But I was able to, I got the packet today, and I was able to pull off a few things which I thought might be interesting to you. Of course, October 1st is the enrollment membership date where they determine the following year's allocation. And there's going to be there's a slight change. Bethany is going to lose about 9 students. Orange is going to lose 17 students, and we're going to lose 17 students. So our percentage of the Amity budget will go from 29.962 to 29.784, or a reduction of 0.178%. Bethany's is just about the same, and Orange's goes up the amount that we're down, so about 0.18%. So I guess that's good news. And as far as there's a chart here where it lists the various classes, and of course our classes are pretty stable. Whereas Orange down the road could actually start dropping because their classes are small. And Bethany's are minute. But they got 46 kindergartners as opposed to 110 that we have, and it goes on the line. So, but that's fine. The other thing which I spoke to you last time about, and unfortunately I can't tell you what Amity is going to tell me, but I will at the next meeting. If you remember, I think Ellen was referring to this. I was very upset with the fact that they had a huge surplus at the end of last year, and rather than return some of it to the towns, they used it all primarily to fund their health care reserve on their self-employed health. And I kind of pleaded with self-insured healthcare, and I kind of pleaded with them not to do it all at once, because the experts had told us that in self-insured healthcare you have 1 bad year and 4 good years, and chances are the coming year would be better. And I said, why do you have to do it all in one fell swoop, I was looking for 150,000 as part of a 300,000 return to the towns, and it didn't materialize. Well, anyway, so I kind of told him that I'm going to be watching this closely, and I'm going to be, and I'm going to be questioning him on this. But as of September 30th, the surplus, the ordinary surplus at Amity, is $100,000. And as I predicted, and as others predicted, the health insurance is coming in much lower to the budget. They're budgeting $365,000 a month, and for example, September was $282,000 or $82,000 surplus. So as of September 30th, they have a surplus in the health insurance of $205,000 in 3 months, which now puts them over, I guess the maximum recommended balance be 25% of the, and they're over that now.
Right.
And if the actual medical claims against the budget continue to come in low, the question I'm going to have for them is, if it ends up being hundreds of thousands of dollars, it's basically you've overtaxed the citizens to fund your medical plan. What are you going to do with that money? Are you going to spend all that money? So we're going to be having some lively discussions at Amity, because I think that the other towns are also seeing the same thing, that they've got this. And I told them, I said, you're spending all this money on the health. Why don't you see how it goes? And they could have given us the 150 and still had 50 or 60,000 extra. So I will be discussing this with them. I'm not going to say I told you so, but I am. So we'll see. I'm curious to see what their answer is going to be, because if these claims keep coming in this low, if they're $50,000 a month for the next 9 months, $450, you're looking at close to $700,000 surplus in their health insurance. And that's a lot of money, and I'm going to be going on record now as saying, I don't know if they can take money out of that and return it to the towns. I don't know how that works. In other words, once it goes into the pool of, I don't know how that works.
I don't know if they could take it out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or do they just come in under, but I don't know what they're going to do. We're going to be talking about that.
Yeah.
But it's a concern of mine, because, it's a lot of money that's going in, and anyway, let's not talk about that. Okay, but I'll be talking to them Monday night about that. Mike?
Fire Commission is scheduled to meet on Monday.
Yeah, sounds like us, okay. Karen?
Well, I've been at 2 meetings. The EMS met on October 6th and went over that CMed issue. I was there, a lot of discussion, and I really can't tell you, but everybody's working on it, and it's obviously a major issue. And the AMR performance reviews. Their performance continues to be well above the compliance, and they do an awful lot of analysis. But the falls continue to be the highest calls that they go to, and they've really spent a lot of time, as I've reported before, how they can reduce that. And that'll segue into Human Services, which also met on the same night. They've been working with Human Services, and they're conducting a fall prevention program. So they're trying to be really proactive. It's falls, breathing, and traffic accidents that far outnumber anything else. So, but on the Human Services, the purchase of the 2008 bus, that was finalized, and I guess they're trying to get it registered. There continues to be discussions for a possible ramp at the senior center. There's many challenges to do that. There's a CPR course that's open to all residents. 11 people have registered. They're conducting that on the 20th. Started the Holiday Basket program, and they've begun accepting applications for fuel assistance also. For the senior center, they're getting ready for their holiday fair November 8th. This one kind of, I wish I was there. I was a little late because of the EMS. The bingo civil preparedness kind of cracks me up. I mean, it's like flashlights number 9, bottled water 22. I don't know actually how they're doing that, but it's kind of funny. 87 people have registered for a cooking demonstration, and the Tai Chi classes, there are already 2, and there's a waiting list. So And youth services also. I mean, there's so much going on. They're really doing such a great job. And is Nancy Fund, I don't want to pronounce her name wrong, but yeah. I've been reporting to you on the let's see, the program for, the parent support group, which I thought was such a good thing. And she initiated that, she's facilitating that. And she went to an award ceremony and somebody else got an award for the program that she has been creating and putting the time in facilitating. But it's obviously a very good program, and she's obviously very humble, and sat there while someone else, but it really is. They moved the time again, so it provides a great service for some parents of high school students that could use a little support on issues. So I guess that's about it.
Thank you. Andrew?
I did attend a meeting, but our selectmen had me going
The 2 meetings that night, so I was not able to stay for the whole meeting.
Good.
But the first portion of the meeting, where it really was on the financial statement, and their overtime is the big thing. And the overtime has to do with the time they're spending for the overtime for the Public Works Department. That's a big portion of it. So what has changed? At one point in time, the contractors that were bidding paving or road work were responsible for paying for the policemen.
Paying for traffic control.
Traffic control.
Right.
Okay. Now, all of a sudden, now that's become the responsibility of the Public Works Department?
Well, all of a sudden, we have now an open hole policy, which means if there's work being done in the road, there has to be a policeman, as opposed to traffic control, which is, could be $10 an hour paying someone to stand there with a sign and this or whatever. That's one change. That was a big change. So now the police are working with Public Works to try to minimize the number of times. There's some discretion if it's a town job as to the number of times that could happen.
So
That's clearly one of the issues.
that's clearly one of the issues,
Yeah.
but that hasn't changed. If a paving contractor, or road contractor is coming into town, and it's going to require police presence.
The other difference is if the town does it, it's just overtime.
Yeah.
If a paving contractor comes in, it's, the rate is higher. It's a sergeant's rate, I believe. There's rate differences.
But in the
also.
past, wasn't that the responsibility of the paving contractor and these people coming in were doing the work? Or was that always our responsibility?
I'd have to look back a number of years. Since it's been police on the jobs, it's been our responsibility, from my recollection.
Okay.
It's just
And that just
contract.
But that's becoming began to become a very, very large portion of the overtime now.
Right.
First, it was because they were down officers based on medical leave.
Right.
Okay.
I think that's still a predominant.
No, that's predominant.
Yeah. I mean, the public works work is an issue, yes, but it's still the vacancy issue and the
Vacancy issue.
Yeah, it's still a predominant reason why.
And that was basically it.
Yes, I went to the Rec Commission meeting. Interesting report on the summer concerts. The total cost was $5,800, and the total amount earned back from grants and sponsors was $5,300, so it was pretty close. And good attendance, except for I think there was one rainy night. A significant portion of the meeting was devoted to a presentation by, I think it was Mr. Looney from Malone and McBroom. The Rec Commission wanted to make sure that their goals for the future, potential sites for additional rec facilities were included in the town plan of conservation and development. So there was a discussion about that.
Thank you. Just a couple of updates. I don't know if Ellen wants to handle this. Merritt Avenue Bridge and the Public Works Garage.
Well, Merritt Avenue Bridge, I believe, is on schedule at this point.
yeah.
There was some delay because there was some tiles that had to be ordered after a certain amount of work was done, and there was back order, but I believe that's taken care of now and moving along according to schedule, as far as we know. And what was the second one?
Public Works Garage.
Oh, the Public Works Garage also on budget, on time, as far as we know, and hopefully there'll be a dedication soon. And for people who have not toured the Public Works Garage, it's really something to see, and
It's been a good
very
project.
impressive
Yeah, it's
project.
been a good
Do you want to
project.
add anything, Tony?
No, that was good.
Okay, before we leave, I'd just like to tell you that on Saturday, our former administrative officer, Mr. Hellauer, celebrates his 80th birthday.
Congratulations. And since he retired, he's looking younger every day.
Every day's a Saturday.
They're right.
I worked on Saturdays, I worked a lot of Saturdays.
So happy birthday, Joe.
Thank you, sir.
With that, I'll move adjournment.
Wait a minute,
Oh.
no, still.
Oh, the liaisons, yeah, is there and we had just said we're gonna hold on to what we've got. Are there anybody looking to get out or change or whatever? We're good for now?
Yeah.
Okay. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Thank you.